Okay, Austin, it's time. ACL Fest is officially here. Now, I've been plenty of times before, but this year I am skipping it. And between the heat, the ridiculous price tag, and the sheer amount of people, I know I'm not the only one. So today on CityCast Austin, I'm talking to an unofficial ambassador for local music about why ACL is still worth the hassle. It's Thursday, October 2nd. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. What's up? I am here with Andy Langer, Senior Director, Live Music and Entertainment at the University of Texas at Austin. And just also, it's Andy Langer. What's up, Andy? Thank you for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me.
So over the next 2 weekends, 450,000 people will head to Zilker Park for the Austin City Limits Music Festival. Now, off top, how many of those people do you think are actually Austinites, people that live here and work and stay here?
At some point, the festival revealed that 80% are from Texas. So what percentage of that 80% are from Austin and the surrounding counties? I'm going to guess half. So somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay, you're close. But actually, according to C3, which they put on the festival, 50% of attendees last year came in from out of the state. Another 25% came from other parts of Texas. And only 25% were actually Austinites.
I mean, it is definitely an established rite of passage for living in this town, 20-something years in.
Okay. Who do you think the festival benefits most? Do you think it benefits Austinites or do you think it benefits tourists?
Benefits how? I mean, the economic drive, the trickle down clearly benefits the town.
Right.
Tourists that are coming clearly benefit the town. And when you look at things like the hotel occupancy tax that then directly benefits Austin music, then that's a lot of trickle down. If you're talking about benefits in terms of satisfies them musically, I mean, tough to say. There is a significant effort each year to book a bunch of Austin folks who then have career moments, or what to that point are career moments, getting to play their hometown festival. So that would seem to benefit the local side of the equation too.
Do you feel like that the number of local Austin artists that they're having in the festival is dwindling? Because it seems like it's dwindling to me.
I think it's the same number of slots. I mean, I'd be surprised if it's not within 3 to 5 of a number that's somewhere over 20, near 30. So, no, I think consistently they've made an effort. Now, whether those showcases or those slots are, early day, midday, up against huge things later in the night, that you can debate all day long. But for the most part, people aren't buying tickets to see those acts. And the benefit of being one of those acts, an Austinite that plays the hometown festival, is that you are appearing in front of folks who later can buy tickets to your shows. And, when we look at festivals in general, the big benefit for anybody playing a festival aren't the people that are directly in front of them, the crowd that day. It's the association with the festival across what's now, because they announce festivals so early, essentially a 9-month period. So for 9 months, next of kin get to say, they're going to be playing the Austin City Limits Music Festival. That in itself is a significant thing. And then down the road, when it's new album, new single, new whatever, that's when that becomes an important line in the bio that they've played this festival, this festival, this festival. And at some point, people who are sort of the gatekeepers and decision makers down the line, whether it's radio, whether it's record stores, whether it's, people making playlists, they want to see, they're more likely to listen to that because it has the seal of approval from one of the major festivals. And this is one of the major festivals, period. I mean, this is with Coachella, Bonnaroo, Lollapalooza, etc.
So, okay, so what I'm hearing is that festivals are essentially just a larger and more organized version of of like getting exposure, right? Like we're so you're getting
Sure.
exposure. That's essentially, yeah.
I mean, at this point, since nobody sells records, everything's about exposure. And festivals are one of the few drivers that still drive sales, drive familiarity, and hopefully drive fans to those particular acts. I mean, did the festival deliver? Is usually decided upon by the answer to that question. Did I walk away with a new favorite band? Because anybody can go see the headliners. Those headliners are going to be here on and off, across a couple of year period, probably playing the Moody Center, playing over at Coda, playing Waterloo Amphitheater, etc. It's did you discover something new? And as long as people are going to festivals to discover something new, that's a good spot for those Austin acts.
I'm always on the fence about ACL, right? Because oftentimes I'll go and I'll look at the lineup, and there are often many names that I do not know. So I
All
just
right.
take, so I just take the time to sit down and look names up and be like, oh, who is this? Who is that? And sometimes I am pleased with the amount of people that are from Austin and their Austin bands. I'm like, oh shit, they're in the city. I did not know. I'll go look for them. And other times I'm like, who the hell are all these people that are not Austin bands that are also not well known? How do you think ACL strikes that balance between, like, we're just talking just unknown bands, period? We're not talking about the headliners, to your point of like learning new music. How do you think ACL, the lineup, strikes the balance between unknown Austin bands and just unknown bands, period, that are not from the city?
I mean, in theory, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
you'd like to see, as a hometowner, more of the
Yeah.
hometown.
Of course. Yeah.
That said, that's just not how festivals work. And the reality is that if you look at this festival versus Outside Lands or
Mm,
Bonnaroo, which has Nashville to pull off of,
yeah.
the number of Austin acts are simply higher than at other festivals with their cities.
Okay.
It is not a rite of passage for Chicago bands to play Lollapalooza. Now, a fair amount get to play
Mm,
Lollapalooza, but it doesn't carry the same cachet that this does. And the reality is, they're in the business of selling tickets.
right.
And a lot of those smaller bands that, quote, have no following are bands that have just enough following that if you saw four or five of those stacked, you'd
Yeah.
say, okay, maybe that pushes me over the edge because I've seen the Killers 100 times,
Got you.
but I can see these four or five things that I'm interested in. Now, what's interesting about ACL, sort of big picture, historically, long term, is that it started as Roots Americana. It very much
Yep.
mirrored the television show from which it gets its name. They could have really leaned into that and sort of been Stagecoach.
And that could have been their thing.
Yeah, and that could have been their thing. That would have been, though, ultimately really short sighted because it's sort of a metaphor for the city itself. If you know, go for the comfortable thing and don't grow, you're essentially living in a dead city. And at some point, if they had leaned into that and made this sort of the Americana festival or the Roots festival, um, eventually that audience dies off. I mean, literally dies off.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually you're left doing the kind of festival that doesn't reflect how people digest and enjoy music anymore. And the way people
Yeah.
digest and enjoy music, it's way more uh, wide than it is deep,
Yeah.
but it's wider than it is deep because we listen, we are less tied to genre than we've ever been, just as a people. And that's Spotify.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to grow and change with the times, essentially. Yeah.
So this looks, from the middle, the bottom, and ultimately the top.
Mm.
This looks more like a hodgepodge than most festivals
Yeah.
because there is, rootsy stuff there. There is, generally that tent. Who knows which corporate names on it this year, but that tent that does sort of the
Yeah.
rootsier thing. The BMI stage often has rootsier things.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you look at it now, it's oddly more balanced, more
Yeah.
eclectic and balanced, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
than it used to be and could have been.
Yeah.
Um, because I think that they definitely avoided leaning too hard into one thing. And then that creates the situation where you look at the lineup and you're like, I don't know who half this stuff is.
Yeah, it's definitely a music buffet for sure. And that's one of the things I do like about ACL is I'm like, "Oh, I don't know who this person is, but I'm walking by and I like what I hear." This podcast is brought to you by Wise, the app for international people using money around the globe. With Wise, you can send, spend, and receive up to 40 currencies with only a few simple taps and save up to 55% compared to major banks. Plus, Wise won't add hidden fees to your transfer. Whether you're buying souvenirs with pesos in Puerto Vallarta or sending euros to tip your Coliseum tour guide, you know you're getting a fair exchange rate with no extra markups. That's what makes Wise the fast, affordable way to use your money around the globe. Wise offers 24/7 live support and runs over 7 million daily checks to catch and prevent fraud. So you know your money is where it's supposed to be. Be smart. Join the 15 million customers who choose Wise. Download the Wise app today or visit wise.com. Learn more by visiting wise.com/US/compare. T's and C's apply. So, okay, let's talk about this year. So it's the 23rd year of ACL. And in the past, we've had breakout stars, celebrities, record-breaking crowds. Which bands do you think will stand out at this year's festival?
I mean, I think there's some obvious stuff like this is the time where people are nostalgic about T-Pain, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
T-Pain's had, significant festival driven success over the last couple of years. So that's going to be something where a whole bunch of people who would not ordinarily buy a ticket to see T-Pain
Yeah.
will gather for T-Pain in the kind of numbers that look like headliner numbers. That said, you know, I think there's not this year a person like Lord or Chapel Roan who things snowballed throughout the year or so that they were booked to the point where when they get here, and this is the Lizzo factor,
The
for
Lizzo
instance.
factor, yeah.
I don't think there's one of those. I don't think there's somebody who they sort of got lucky with and then things really happened for them. The other side of that is that those things are getting rarer and rarer. That
Yeah.
phenomena where somebody becomes the thing overnight, or over the course of the months that lead up to the festival. So I don't think we'll have that.
Okay, so that's fair. But who do you think the biggest get is? Because I personally, look, we're on the tail end. Doechii has had a big year. Doechii has
Right.
had a big couple of years. And so we're kind of catching Doechii on that, while she's already on the come up, right? Sabrina Carpenter is huge, right? And so like those two alone, I'm like, oh man, we might see some of those like Chapel Roan kind of, panning the crowd numbers that we
Right.
saw last year. But who do you think is the biggest get?
And it's interesting that Dochi's one slot from headlining. So
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
headlining slot, but we'll
which is
have
weird to me.
clearly that kind of crowd. Also, it was not that long ago that people were looking at festival lineups and circling where are the women? And now an ACL, which is largely booked by a team of women,
Hmm.
ACL was sort of the first of the major festivals to really address that and in a lot of ways correct it. And again, we're discussing the two maybe biggest things at the festival, Sabrina Carpenter and Doechii, both women. Now, is that reflective of, changing tastes? It's obviously big time for pop women,
Yeah.
but I think it's something worth noting that you can't really play that "let's circle where the women are" game, because they're there and they're in prominent spots this time and the last couple of years.
Yeah, listen, in my opinion, we could always use more women headliners. Like, it's great to put
Right.
you on the, Like, I appreciate you putting us on the top spot, but like, we're still looking like, headliners are like Sabrina's the only female headliner, but I love to see it. I love to see that more and more women are showing up. Now, I'm curious, what Austin performers should we be keeping an eye on? Like, for this festival, who in this festival from Austin are you like, yeah, man, I'm not missing that. I'm doing what I need to do to be there.
I've been super impressed across the last year or so by Next of Kin, who I think are
Mm,
due for a big moment. And,
yeah,
you know, they're it's a little too obvious and easy to say that they're sort of a twist on the chicks, but that is sort of the sweet spot. And there hasn't been a band that is convincingly sort of mined that territory from here in a long time. And also, they just keep getting better. So I think that's going to be one of those Austin can't misses. Briscoe are by no means, unknown, low
yeah,
on the Austin totem pole, etc.
yeah,
But that also sort of makes them poised to have a big festival, because for the last 3 years they've done nonstop touring, turned out records. I mean, this is all after
yeah,
graduating from UT, where they played everything right and did everything right using those
yeah,
years to bring this together. So I think you could have a big Briscoe moment. There's Ghetto Galas playing SL Hauser. There's a bunch of stuff. But who's most likely to walk away with a bunch of new fans? I think
yeah.
that's probably Briscoe and Next to Kin.
Okay. Now, I will say, I will give it up to Next to Kin. I do like them. A friend of mine told me about them, and I was like, you talking to me about some 3-part harmony? You're gonna have my attention right off the top.
There you go.
Um, and Ghetto Gala, they are another group that I'm like, I keep seeing them more and more. Now, there's something that people do that I will never understand. As soon as the gates open and they play the Star Wars theme,
Right.
they run to stage and they camp out all day. They camp out at stages all day. Is there anyone on the lineup this year that you think is worthy of a camp out?
Well, I think we're gonna get Sabrina Carpenter
Of
camping.
course. Of
Period.
course. Of course.
Beyond that, I think there's probably less of that on this lineup this
Hmm.
year. I mean, I'm always mystified by that, but also I understand if that's your thing. And, this is blasphemous in the festival world. But the
Hmm.
reality is, you know, the best way to see live music is to be within the first, let's call it 3 to 7,000 people at
Yeah.
something like this. So picture two or three stubs laid side by side, right? Or
Hmm.
two or three ACLs. That's where you're watching the actual performer and not so much the jumbotrons, if
Right.
you're in that area. And
Right.
so I don't blame these folks who have invested a lot of money and are
Hmm.
real fans of artist X, Y, or Z, to want to close that gap and be part of those first
Yeah.
couple of thousand people, so that they're actually experiencing live music and not
Right.
watching something on a jumbotron. The people that mystify me also are people who spend most of their day in the beer tent watching sports. And
Oh.
I don't know if those are I don't know if those are mostly parents who are dutifully taking their kids
Hmm.
to the festival, or if those are folks who are so torn between music and sports that they bought a ticket for music, but then ended up
Yeah.
watching sports. But that's always mystifying to me.
Why are you in that tent all day? I
I
don't
know.
know.
I mean, on the other hand, the ACL folks aren't going to complain
Of
because,
course.
the big thing now is the future of festivals where people don't drink as much. And so I'm sure they're real happy about that tent and that tent being full because it's in a literal beer hall.
So this is gonna show my age, but the last time I camped out at ACL was when Robert Plant and Alison Krauss were coming. And
Okay.
I was, and I was, and I just, and I remember being like, yeah, I'm not doing anything else except for this all day so that I can get as close to Robert Plant as humanly possible. But that is Robert Plant. You know, like in my
Right.
mind, it made sense to me, right? But that is also one of the last times that I have gone to ACL without some sort of badge or some sort of like platinum badge to give me access to somewhere to sit down, right?
Okay.
To right. And so and and I'm bringing this up because you brought up the beer tent, which I think is hilarious. It's
Right.
so spot on. But I found that as I've gotten older, comfort has gotten more important to me, right? Do you think that ACL is a place that is for all ages? Because you mentioned that some parents they're bringing their kids.
Mhm.
I have a lot of friends who they're bringing their kids too for the first time, and it's a big deal, and they're kind of passing the baton. But then, if you're in your mid to late 40s and up, it is not a comfortable experience. So like, and then
Well,
and then
yeah, I
those
mean,
passes are expensive as hell. So I'm like, what do you have to say about the accessibility and the comfortability as you get older?
well, you notice they're definitely selling more of those passes. There's more tiers, more levels for VIP access
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
obviously that generation reportedly, allegedly has the disposable income.
Yeah.
And they are folks like you looking for comfort. That said, it's not a bait and switch. It's Texas.
Yeah.
It's essentially summer,
Yeah.
and you sign up for this, you kind of know what you're signing up for.
Yes.
I knew these folks that they pick their tree and that's where they set up their stuff, and that there's a long tradition of that where
Yep.
folks, when they hear that Star Wars thing, they're not running for a stage,
They're
they're
going for
running
that
for
tree.
their tree to set up their little camp so that people can come and check back with them, and obviously they're looking for some shade, etc. So in the first 2 or 3 years, I met these folks who told me about their camp setup. And what they did is they figured out who the vendor that C3 uses for porta potties is. And there's only a couple of vendors for porta potties, right? So they made a sign using the logo of that porta potty vendor, and it says out of service. And so what they would do is the minute
What?
they'd get there, they'd run into the park, they'd throw that sign up on the last stall in the section of porta potties closest to their tree. And then they'd bring candles, they'd bring mints, they'd bring sprays, all the things to trick out that porta potty into their own personal comfort station. And the sign would obviously deter anyone else that didn't know from using that porta potty. And then when they'd come out of the porta potty, they'd hold their nose, they'd make an exaggerated, whoa, that's a rough porta potty thing, so that nobody else would come in.
Andy,
And
that is
those people are geniuses.
fucking brilliant. That is so smart. I'm so mad. That is genius.
Now, there were
That's
also people back in
genius.
those days, and that's much harder to do now,
Right,
that
of
were
course.
digging holes to bury cases of Tito's. And I do not, condone digging
I
into the dirt at the crown jewel of our park system to hide your Tito's, but I know that used to happen too.
Oh
Probably
my
still
God.
does.
I love that. So, okay. So, since we're talking about this, I need more tips. I have friends that go every year. They don't have any kind of special passes. They're not pressed. They're not VIP. They go, and I know we're not supposed to call it
We
this,
call
but
that Gen
Gen
Pop.
Pop. Gen Pop. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I'm glad you said it first. They go Gen Pop every year, and they've been doing it for, I mean, years and years and years. and they have their system worked out. They have things that they figured out. What are your best tips for ACL festival goers? It's gin pop, they raw dogging it the regular way. What are your tips?
I mean, I think the one that I use the most personally, because I have all the passes, but I also watch from the crowd when I leave the comforts of backstage. And and I'm grateful for those comforts. I also feel like the I guess it's the Amex stage. What is that? What it's called this year?
I believe so. Yeah.
The main
The
stage,
big, I think it's
the
Amex.
big
Yeah.
stage. Typically, if you approach it, let's use stage right. So stage right. If you approach from the side and have the patience to slither down that left hand side or that well stage right side, if you can slither down that, generally it opens up pretty close to the stage. Like there's a pocket on that side that once you get to it, you're not standing as close to people as you were if you had approached it from the other side or from the center, if that makes any sense. And that's for headliners always been my thing. And it seems worth it to endure the very slow walk through the narrow piece to get to where it opens up. And so I've just ruined that for myself and for you and for everyone else. This is like talking about your favorite food truck or whatever that gets overrun by our lines. Yeah.
It's okay. First, people got to figure out what stage right is. It's okay.
Yeah, there you go.
It's all right. They got to figure out that first. So, okay, last year I talked to someone who didn't realize that there were also vendors all over the park. And so, what is your kind of like not music related thing about ACL that you're like, every year I go, I try to check this out? Is it whether it's food or whether it's vending? What are some of the other things that you're like, I got to do this when I go every year, or it's worth me coming out?
The sort of cheesy old school answer is I go and I get a chicken cone.
That's a
So
great answer. That's a great answer.
their rise coincided with the first couple
Yeah.
of years of the festival. There was actually, because Hudson on the Bend closed and because Jeff Blank, the creator and chef at Hudson's on the Bend, passed away a couple of years ago. There was a couple of years without the chicken cones, and they're super pricey now, and they're nothing more than a chicken strip with some coleslaw inside of a tortilla, but they're good. And the avocado one is good. And ultimately, this is our version of Jazz Fest crawfish bread.
The mighty
And
cone. Yeah.
yeah, and so I end up doing the mighty cone at least once a weekend, uh,
I love that.
more than anything because that's what I've always done. If
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah.
No, it makes it makes absolute sense.
I don't spend a lot of time in that retail village. I have the last couple of years, and this is something you're not supposed to do, walked by, and because I've had friends playing it, gone into Kitty Limits, and you're not supposed to go unaccompanied to Kitty Limits for obvious reasons,
Oh,
which is what
yeah,
I
of
was pointing out.
course. Yeah.
But Kitty Limits is its own
It's its own thing.
fascinating bubble of sort of energy and fun.
It's awesome.
And it's pretty amazing. And every time I walk in there, which is usually like once a festival, I'm always sort of blown away by the festival within the festival that's for
Mm-hmm.
those kids. And ultimately, that's also smart business because those are
Yeah,
the kids that are going to be coming to the festival
exactly.
and paying God knows what in 15 years to do it. Yeah.
What's weird is Kitty Limits feels the most like Austin out of all of ACL to me.
That's probably fair.
I'm like, okay, this is very Austin.
Right.
This is very Austin.
because
Every
there's
time,
6-year-olds running around with mohawks, tie-dyed mohawks. Yeah.
yeah. It's very, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add about the festival or like anything happening in the next few weeks that we should know about?
I don't have anything specific like a date and place,
Yeah, of course.
but I do think in a perfect world, the people that gripe and moan about this lineup or that lineup not being for them, I hope they're also people that are seeing music around town the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And, I've been on this soapbox for years and years and years, but fundamentally, the biggest thing in this old Austin versus new Austin situation, the biggest thing that's been, I think, a detriment to live music in Austin and the development of artists, etc., is that when folks get here from someplace else, we're not marketing music to newcomers in an effective way. And what I mean
Ooh,
by that
Andy.
is that they're not delivered in a lot of cases the message that this is part of the DNA. It's part of why
Okay.
what Austin is. And so, yeah, they're going to buy wristbands for a festival. They may go to the Moody Center or to ACL Live X number of times a year. But are
Yeah.
they going to the Continental Club? Are they
Right.
seeing things at Seaboys and Don's Depot and at, the Cactus on a Tuesday
Right.
night? And I think it's not that they're not interested in that. It's just that that's not how it was wherever it is they came from. And I think all this talk and money about, or all the what can the city do, etc., an effective marketing campaign for newcomers is long overdue. Can these clubs stay open? Can musicians make enough money to make music their thing and grow and get better and etc.? That's all dependent on people embracing what was the DNA of the city. And I just think we could market that better to newcomers.
I'll tell you something, Andy. Listen, you giving me that's a lot of grace. Hey, you're making this native Austinite feel bad about being cranky about y'all don't know what's happening in the city. You're absolutely right. I agree with you 100%.
And rarely am I accused of grace.
Andy, thank you for being here. This is
Yeah,
awesome.
no, thank you.
I really appreciate you coming on and chatting with me. This is also something I'm going to be thinking about for the rest of the day is this idea of just like we have to
Printing
market.
your own bathroom signs?
Printing
That's
my
what
own
you're
bathroom
thinking.
signs, number one. And number
Okay.
two, giving people grace for just not knowing what our fucking culture is. This has been
There you
great.
go.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, thank you.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to Andy's social media in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, tell us who you gonna go see at ACL if you're going, leave us a review, subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter, and if you are really digging this, if you're digging us and you love CityCast Austin, make sure you become a neighbor today at membership.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.